Call to order and roll call.
Commissioner Goss,
Here.
Commissioner Blair,
Here.
Vice Chair Noble,
Here.
Commissioner Swab,
Here.
Commissioner Waters, Quinn, and Marino are excused. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone, you can be seated. Welcome to the City of Kingman meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission from Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. All right, first we have the approval of meeting minutes from the July 12th, 2022 meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I will send
All right, well, I'll second it then. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, consideration of public comments. Those wishing to address the Planning and Zoning Commission need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing the staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and decision at a later time pursuant to ARS 38431. Hybrid meeting, in-person attendance, call-in participation and written comments. In person, those wishing to address the commission in person do not need to pre-register, but space is limited and will be allotted on a first-come, first-served basis. Attendance priorities will be given to presenters first and then non-presenters. Number 2, call-ins. Those wishing to address the commission by telephone will need to pre-register by 9 a.m. on August 8th of 2022 by emailing planning@cityofkingman.gov and provide their name, address, telephone number they will be using, email, and agenda item they would like to comment on. Once registered, a link with additional instructions will be provided. Only those who have pre-registered will be admitted to the meeting. Number 3, written comments. All written comments must be submitted prior to 9 a.m. on August 8th, 2022 by emailing planning@cityofkingman.gov or dropping off the comments at the Community Development Department in the main city complex at 310 North 4th Street. Members of the public can watch or listen to the meeting live via Channel 4 or on YouTube at youtube.com/cityofkingman. Do we have any comments other than that one we're not doing? Okay.
No.
All right.
Might want to let the public know and for the records to know that we're going to skip to number 3.
Okay, we got one comment, but it's about an agenda item that we're not going to be able to do. So we are skipping the conditional use permit case CUP 210001 and the conditional use permit case CUP 22-0004 because we don't have a quorum for those two. So we are moving to the rezoning case RZ 22-0001. All right. Rezoning case. A request from Jillian Avidable, applicant, and Skyridge Custom Homes property owner to rezone certain properties from RR, rural residential, to R1-10 residential single family, minimum 10,000 square foot lot size. The subject property is located at 3600 block of North Prescott Street and is currently comprised of 2 lots, each of which is approximately 1 acre in size. The property is further described as lots 7 and 8, block 6, Shangri-La Estates, Second Amendment, APN 320-02-179D and 320-02-179E. Can we get a report from staff?
I think you went over everything.
Rich, do I still have to click share screen?
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I'm Gary Likeness, one of the staff planners, and I'm here to present the case before you, the rezoning case RZ 22-0001. And as was mentioned, it's a request to have certain property rezoned from rural residential to R110, which are both residential zoning districts. The R110 is a residential with a minimum 10,000 square foot lot size. The applicant is Jillian Alvatabli, and the property owner Skyridge Custom Homes. And forgot to include in there that the request for certain property is 2 acres. Currently, they're both, it's 2 acres side by side, or 2 1-acre lots side by side, essentially. This is the vicinity map. As you can see, it's west or east of Bank Street, quite a bit, south of Keno Avenue, north of Airway, and it's on North Prescott Street that's mentioned in there. And to zoom in a little more, the box in red is the subject property. As I mentioned, those are 2 lots that are 1 acre each. The City of Kingman General Plan 2030 land use map, there's a lot of colors involved there, so use the legend if you need to, but the star represents the subject property, and that property is currently designated as medium density residential, which allows 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The bluish to the east is public, quasi-public. North is the low-density residential, and the reddish area is community commercial. I've got them all labeled there, so if you need me to slow down, I can. If not. The current zoning map for that same area shows the subject property again in yellow in the red box, zoned RR, rural residential, and the surrounding zoning is, you can see RMH 20 to the south and to the west, and then rural residential to the north and to the east, and then some R16 farther to the northwest, and then C3 commercial, that reddish area. So that's the current zoning. Utilities for the area show that they're currently North Prescott Street is a 40-foot right-of-way with no street improvements, so it's a dirt road. There has been there is a 6-inch water line that is the full length of that stretch of Prescott Street, and an 8-inch sewer main which goes down to just the southern edge of the subject property, so from north to south. Here's some site photos we took when we were out there posting for the public notice. First is that public notice sign on the left there, and then the subject property looking to the south, large vacant lot. Then you turn around and look to the north. Prescott Street's now on your right. The yellow is supposed to approximate the boundaries. I don't know if I did the best job there. We, as part of this public hearing, we did notify surrounding property owners with first-class mail of this hearing, and on July 21st, the site was also posted that same day when those pictures were taken as well. A public notice was placed in the Kingman Minor newspaper on July 24th, and so far, only one comment from the public has been received regarding this request, which was as of today as well, but August 3rd when the staff report was completed. And that was one comment, as I mentioned, and it was in support of the request. And that's included in your staff report packet if you want to read that. Department and agency comments. When we receive an application, we send it out for review to internal departments as well as outside agencies. We only received 4 comments back. One was from city engineering. We'll mention that in the analysis later on, but the city engineering department mentioned that there will be a need for additional 7 feet of right-of-way along Prescott Street. As I mentioned, it's currently 40 feet wide. It needs to be 54. The building official community development manager approved. Mojave County Flood Control, no objection. Unisource Electric, no objection, but they did provide a comment that's relevant to the development of the site, but not for the case. With the new zoning code that was adopted in April of last year, a applicant for rezoning or other types of land use requests are required to follow the citizen review process. And documentation of that review process, that outreach process, is required to be submitted with an application. And the applicant did so with their application material, and they conducted 2 on-site neighborhood meetings, one on June 22nd and one on June 23rd. And they also had to mail out notices to the same folks to let them know about that meeting. And they did that, and we received verification of that. And then they were required to post an on-site sign about the neighborhood meeting. They did that. And those two individual meetings were held. And a summary of the meetings is included in the staff report in the back in the exhibits. But for bullet point purposes and PowerPoint, I just put them on here. There was a concern from a neighbor about potential multifamily development, but that was not the case with this development, so that became a non-issue. The next one was Prescott Street needed to be paved. So the attendees, which there were two, were in favor of petitioning in the future to have it paved. Next item was related, but it's dust on the unpaved road. They were in favor of reducing speed from 25 to 15 miles per hour, but that's not part of this rezoning, so we can't do anything about that at this point. The last one there was the front yard setback differences between R110, the requested zoning, and RMH20, which is sort of a surrounding zone there. The applicant intends to observe the 30-foot setback, which would be the required for the RMH20, but not for the R110. So the new zoning would only require a 20-foot setback. And then there was kind of unclear, but there was a question about driveway requirements with the 20 feet, and but they can ask us about that if there's more specifics. The purpose of the request, as was mentioned by stated by the applicant, was to have that R110 zone apply to their property so they can take those two 1 acre lots and then split them one time more each. So creating 4 lots altogether, basically half acre lots, which would far exceed the 10,000 square foot minimum of the R110, but that's their intention, is to create 4 lots out of that. The new zoning code requires that the commission make a recommendation to the city council on this matter, and your recommendation would be written and would be whether or not you recommend to approve the requested rezoning, approve with modifications and or conditions of approval, or 3, you could recommend denial. Any of those decisions would have to be supported by findings of fact, and in the case of recommending approval, a rezoning request can only be approved if the following 3 findings are made, or in other words, the relevant review criteria, and that's what we're going to go into next. The proposed amendment must be consistent with and conforms to the goals of the general plan, and applicable specific plans. In this case, the subject property is currently designated as medium density residential or medium density on the general plan 2030 projected land use map, which supports 3 to 8 units, dwelling units per acre. The requested rezoning to R110 allows more density than currently, but it still falls within that designation of 3 to 8 units per acre. So it does comply with that section of the general plan. The 10,000 square foot lots would be 4.36 dwelling units per acre, which is, like I said, within that 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre. So it is compliant with the general plan. The proposed amendment will not be detrimental to the public interest, health, convenience, or welfare of the city, and will add to the public good as described in the general plan. The proposed R110 is consistent, as I mentioned, with the allowable land use densities in the general plan. Next, the applicant has extended the sanitary sewer line down Prescott Street to allow for this development to occur. This allows for, speaking to goals and objectives of the plans and general plan and other policies of the city, this allows for better management of the wastewater, of waste rather than through private systems. And also, future development in the vicinity will have to extend and connect to the sewer as well, if they're within a certain distance of that sewer line. With city water and now city sanitary sewer in the area, this will now encourage further infill development in that area. With the increased interest and demand for improved roadways, will ultimately control the dust and therefore air quality and stormwater management and drainage for the area. So if the streets are in the future improved, that'll help manage all that. This is a long criteria, but I'll go through it. The affected site is physically suitable in terms of design, location, shape, size, operating characteristics, and provisions of public and emergency vehicles, access, public services, and utilities, to ensure that the requested zone designation and the proposed or anticipated uses and/or development will not endanger, jeopardize, or otherwise constitute a hazard to the property or improvements in the vicinity in which the property is located. So some of the findings that were included in the staff report, and remember, each of these bullet points is a little more meat in the staff report for you. So I'm assuming you've all thoroughly gone through that and everything. So I'm just hitting the bullet points here. The site is generally flat with, they're all basically rectangular, which accommodates most home designs and development. Though the street is unimproved, it is maintained by the city. It's one of our dirt streets that are maintained by the city on our inventory. And this allows for development as well as terrain that is suitable for public services such as emergency vehicles, police, solid waste collection, etc. Nevertheless, the street widening and improvements are still needed for the future, have full street improvements to, as I mentioned earlier, manage traffic, manage dust control, manage stormwater, all of that. So the applicant will need to dedicate 7 feet of right-of-way and participate in future roadway improvements in that area. Those are listed as proposed conditions of approval. The site does have a fire hydrant directly in front of the property, right smack dab in the middle. The staff recommendation after the analysis and review of all the information received was that the proposal complies with the required criteria that we've just gone over, and therefore planning staff recommends approval of the request to change the zoning of the subject property from rural residential RR to R110 residential single family with the minimum 10,000 square foot lot sizes, but subject to the following conditions. And that is: 1, prior to any development of the subject property, the property owner shall dedicate 7 feet of additional right-of-way along North Prescott Street. 2, the property owner will participate financially in the future road improvements of North Prescott Street. And with that, that concludes my staff presentation.
Thank you, Gary. Does anybody have any questions for staff?
Yes, I do. When you say future, having been on the planning and zoning previous, and we allowed half streets be paved. And I don't think, with the way things are going right now, I think the whole thing should be paved when the project is done, instead of dedicating it for future, because we run into problems in the past where developer just walks away and then the next one's stuck with it. If it's in this one with right now, if we put it in one of the items there to have it done, and not half street, the whole street to be paved.
Do you want me to comment on that, or? Well, currently the right-of-way is 40 feet, so
Right.
we don't have enough property along the whole stretch of Prescott Street to do its street improvements. So what we're saying in this is to have the applicant dedicate that right-of-way, so over time, as we get other dedications, eventually that street will, or could be, slated for improvements as a city project, and then each property will be assessed that through a capital improvement district. So right now, we're just asking for the right-of-way. Development, they could build homes on it right now as a dirt street because it is a city-maintained road on our city inventory. Other dirt roads in the community, that's not necessarily the case, but this is one of those few that are inventoried. So right now, we wouldn't, even if they wanted to build 2 homes, we wouldn't be able to get them to pave the whole street. So that's why we're recommending getting that right away now, and then putting in the record that commitment that they'll participate in a future improvement district when the time comes.
I still have a problem if they walk away from it. Who's gonna, the next one step up? Do they have to abide with what's there already? Or they're gonna be stuck with a bill of paving. It's gonna be a lot more costly then.
I think I understand what you're saying, and a good thing is any approval here for rezoning, any conditions, it goes with the land, it runs with the property. So if we're asking for 7 feet of additional right-of-way and they don't do it tomorrow and they sell it tomorrow, well, when that next property owner wants to build or do anything, they will have to dedicate that right-of-way before we approve that. So all these conditions would run with the land. It's not owner-specific. So does that add a level of comfort there or assurance?
Not really.
Okay.
I still think that they should be, having been through this before and having been on the commission for over 14 years, doing half-speed improvements and stuff like that, it comes back, you still have half-speed improvement. And you listen to the dirt and the run, the rains and everything. And I still, it's my own belief that that should be paved all the way through.
From their property to north to Keno, or just in front of their property?
I'd like to see it all the way to Keno.
Well, sure.
That ain't gonna happen.
That would be
Just in
nice.
front of their property.
Okay. That's currently not the city policy that's been adopted, so,
Yeah, currently, right now, that's actually regulated by the streets regulations, not the zoning regulations. So, I don't know that it would be appropriate, to request that.
Doesn't hurt to try.
What's that?
Doesn't hurt to try. We
Absolutely,
gotta start somewhere because
right.
all these developments going down that.
Does anybody else have questions for staff? No? All right, I see none. Thank you, Gary.
okay. Would you like me to leave it on an aerial photo or something?
Sure.
Okay. I can leave that up if you'd like.
Perfect, thank you. All right, I'll now open it up to public comment. Does anybody have a comment to make? All right, approach and state your name. Wes?
Good evening. My name is Wesley Maroney, and I am with you. If you go north of Airway on Arizona Street, Nevada Street, Irving Street, all of them, they're half dirt streets. And as a citizen, I'm going to be stuck paying for that in the future when the contractor should be doing that. If this man wants to build on Prescott, I got no problem with it. Just say he needs to take care of it, or the future financial, have him put down a bond or some sort of money, to put, if you have a dog in the race, you're gonna do something. If you don't have a dog in the race, you don't care what anybody does. And I really truly believe that the city needs to pave the streets and not have road graders going through commercial. I own a property on Nevada Street, and one house over from me is dirt. And it makes no sense. And for the safety of kids, if these are gonna be homes, children are out there, they're gonna wanna ride their bikes or walk and stuff like that. When flooding, look at town right now, all those dirt streets are all a mess. And the other people in town drive their cars, whether they are told not to or not, and look at what they are. Now they're gonna have to be graded again to make them safe for all the ruts that are going into it. And so I would highly suggest that you make sure that this man has some money in the process, or he paves it, and take care of it now so that the city and the citizens won't have to pay for it in the future. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other comments from the public? No? All right, then I'm gonna close public comment and open up commission discussion.
I think I've already stated my project on this.
This is a city-maintained road. I don't think that we can make that part of this, make an addendum to the agenda item.
No, I agree with Jed. I do think that if this is an issue that we're interested in looking into further, we could direct staff to look into that and bring it back at another meeting about how we want to deal with this kind of thing. But it doesn't, I don't know that we can make any changes to this actual agenda item, because there's rules so far. I don't know. But
Would it help to know what the current streets policy is in reference to this stuff?
I can't hear you, Sean.
So would it help to know what the current streets policy is for instances like this? Just kind of give you some
Has it
background of where
changed
we're at
since-
as a city.
Since we did it before?
So essentially, what has happened is the city has gone through in any street that was currently being maintained by the city, meaning that we maintain it, we're grading it, we're making sure that if a storm comes through and washes it out, we're coming in and fixing it, right? And this is for any dirt street, any asphalt street, anything like that within the city. What had to happen is we had to have a essentially a starting point, okay? So what we did is we accepted these dirt streets as they are, right? And any new development that takes place that is not a part of an existing city-maintained street, that does require for street improvements, sidewalk improvements, and things like that to go in as a part of that development. So this may not do anything for this particular situation. However, we had to start somewhere. So somewhere down the line, I'm sure that the city has some plans to pave the streets that aren't paved.
But the city's going to be liable for it.
Right, the city, this.
'Cause they've already
to a
taken over the
certain
road.
degree- To a certain degree, they would be liable to it, because we've already accepted the street as a maintained street.
Thank you.
does anybody have any further discussion, or should we make a motion on this one?
I'll make a motion to approve. What item is it?
Item C, rezoning.
Rezoning case RZ 22-0001 with the staff recommendations.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Can I get a roll call vote?
Commissioner Goss,
Approve.
Commissioner Blair,
Nay.
Vice Chair Noble,
Yes.
Commissioner Swap.
Yes.
Motion did not approve. It did. Oh, just
Yeah, it
kidding.
did.
Motion approved.
All right, thank you very much. As I stated before, we are going to skip the conditional use permit case CUP 22-0004 and the conditional use permit case CUP 21-0001 because we no longer have enough commissioners to vote on that. So,
And Chair Goss,
Well,
you may
might
want to
wanna
mention
state
just
that
for the,
Mr. Noble has to step down. That's the reason we're not going to have a quorum.
yes.
and Chair Goss, you may want to mention just for the record, these items will be, are being tabled and then will be brought back at the next commission meeting.
We need a motion for that, don't we? To table it?
No, it's just tabled.
Okay.
It's just automatically tabled
Okay.
to the September 13th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Okay, so these two items are going to be tabled for the September 13th of 2022 meeting, as Commissioner Noble has to recuse himself from those two. All right. So, next we'll just move to announcements by commission members, limited to announcements, availability, or attendance at conferences and seminars, requests for agenda items for future meetings, and requests for reports from staff. No discussion on any of these items. Does anybody have any?
Yes, I'd like a little clarification on the road statuses, what Sean was bringing up, because that's changed since I was on the board before, if that's possible.
All right, I guess the only other thing I have is, I'm going to be attending a conference with the Planning and Zoning Commission at the end of this month. So that'll be good to bring back some information. Also, I did receive a letter that the term limits have changed for this commission. So I will actually be stepping down in December because I will have finished my 2 allowable terms. So I will be being retired. Keep that in mind when you think of other people who want to apply for the commission. There will be a spot opening up then.
So one, there's still 2 open right now. I thought there was 2 when I came on. Well, that's right, Bill and I come on at the same time. Yes, please.
All right, well, I think we're done. So thank you guys very much for coming, and
Make a motion to adjourn.
we will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We're done.